got the next item from JK6276 in Leo Finance. He posted this 13 hours ago. He says, ask Leo, what are your plans for the Speak airdrop? I don't know, Dan, have you got any plans for the airdrop?
Hodling Hive. That's what I'm going to be doing for the airdrop.
Hodling Hive.
Hodling my hard drives as well.
Whatever it is, I'll be hodling my Hive. I'm always hodling my damn Hive. It doesn't matter. I've been hodling Hive for 5 years now, so.
Yeah, I don't need an excuse to hodl Hive, but now I at least have a better excuse.
No excuses.
I'm not going to tip my hand. I might be getting some more. Who knows?
Yeah. It's painful to buy Hive at these prices now, so I'm not buying, I'm not selling.
Well, it's only painful because we were buying at 10, 15 cents because we had the damn conviction. So now it seems overpriced, but we're still under 100 or $1 bill, which is criminal in my opinion.
I thought you were going to say we're still under $100, Dan.
Let my future self slip there.
A bit of time traveling going on. So I'm the same. I'm just hodling. I'm not even that fussed about the date, to be honest. In terms of my Hive balance, I'm just gonna hodl. I'm fortunate from the point of view that I've got other things I can rely on, so I'm just gonna stay all the way on Hive, and I think it's the obvious solution. I just think the market hasn't even come close to pricing in what Hive is at the moment, and what it's going to become. But JK did have some good questions, and there was a shit ton of answers. So we might want to go through some of these comments on this blog. But basically, the general questions, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions he had. And the first question was, should I buy a separate computer to dedicate to Speak Network with big storage space? I could answer on these as well, Dan, but do you want to have a crack at these?
Yeah, definitely. That's if you want to be a part of the network. I know that's what I'm doing. You got to keep in mind, there is no Speak in existence. My Hivers are the only ones that have access to Speak. We made it that way because we trust this community. So if you believe in, what's happening, you believe in off-chain storage and all the tech being built, plus you're already getting the coins for free, then yeah, you might not even need a separate computer, to be honest. I really believe we use about 10% of the resources. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive. 90% of it's free, and 90% of it will always be free because guess what? I also have an external hard drive that has like a few terabytes. I'm never going to be able to use all that space. So, check before you go buying another computer, see what you got and start small and learn the system, and then maybe take some profits or whatnot, whatever you get out of it to maybe upgrade if you want. But that's the way I'd approach it. I'm going balls to the wall though, so don't listen to me.
Don't copy Dan. He's going to get Speak Network obsessive compulsive disorder. So he's already got it, and it doesn't even work yet. So God help him when it starts up.
Yeah, patience.
For me, the way we are designing this, and we can't make guarantees right now because the tech could change because it isn't all built. And the way technology works is just you've got a spec that you're trying to build to, and once you get it out, it becomes solidified. But the way we're aiming for as we build out is to allow anyone with their own normal computer that's got spare space to be able to put videos on there and then register that with the network and once they get the proof of access requests in the mining and prove that they've got what they say they've got, they will receive mining rewards. At the same time, we want to be able to cater for larger storage providers, so people who are going to run dedicated storage, and also for other platforms who already run video platforms and content platforms in the Web3 world that haven't necessarily got this technology but can easily plug in and then just start storing their data on the Speak network and use the Speak network to get rewarded. They'll already have big dedicated servers, and so these guys will be highly competitive and they'll get lots of mining rewards, but good because they're providing a lot of value in the storage space that they've got. And of course it's not just storage, you've also got encoding capability, and you've also got content delivery capability. So these are 3 key factors in content. And basically, the more powerful machines that you have, the more throughput you can make, and the more rewards you'll be able to earn, basically. But we don't. That doesn't mean that your small computer won't be able to contribute to the network, and we are definitely building in that way. So yeah, please just take note of that issue.
I'm guessing that people could think of BitTorrent as a way of, the resources that BitTorrent uses as a gauge for how much they might need for your network, aside from the encoding.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. The other way is that if we get a couple of large platforms come in, which we're expecting, then as well as the ThreeSpeak platform, then it depends on what you're willing to dedicate. Can you personally store all of the videos on the ThreeSpeak platform? We are certainly going to be looking to downgrade the amount of storage space that we use. That's something that's coming up separately. We can discuss separately though. But the idea is, if it's, first of all, the content has to be incentivized if you want to make money from it. So effectively, most of the content will be self-hosted. So someone like you, Yura, you'll probably self-host most of your videos, and then at a certain point, you'll start running out of space. So you'll start saying, okay, now I'm going to ask my wider community, and the wider community may say to you, well, we want to get paid for this because we've got to cover the cost of our videos, right? You may also say that you want to get paid and you want someone to donate to cover the cost of your storage. But ultimately, at a certain point, people's free storage space is going to fill up, and they're going to have to start renting extra servers, or they're going to have a separate computer, or they're going to have to start using their drives that they didn't expect to use for this stuff. And so in order to store on there, they're going to want to be incentivized, and that's when the proof of access starts. That's when the payments start. And the question then is, how many people have used up their free storage space available, and how many people have used up their community's free storage space that the community is willing to provide? And then the next thing is, how much money are they backing to store those pieces of content? A lot of the content is just cat videos. Who cares about storing those long term? But some of the stuff, certainly people like you are doing, I'm sure you would feel that it's very important it stays up. So there should be some kind of bounty that backs that. The beauty is that instead of having to pay for your own server, the Speak Network allows you to decentralize that responsibility, and therefore cut out a lot of the middlemen and allow for a kind of network effect to take care of some of the costs. So it should be cheaper in theory once the economics stabilize. So yeah, I mean, it's an open question really. Go as big as you like. We at ThreeSpeak, because we just consider ourselves a user in the network just like anyone else. And so we will basically keep our current servers. We'll streamline the way that we store data to make it more efficient and cheaper for us. And we'll also allow the community, we'll put some money up so that the community can also help us store that stuff for a certain period of time. And then if anyone wants to store it for longer, they can put up their own bounties. And then after that point, we are just going to be sitting there as an entity that's got quite large servers. And we're going to be able to store anything that comes along really. But then if a BitChute joins us, or God help us, but if a Rumble joins us, those types of guys, which they can, hopefully we can help them save some engineering hours by implementing this technology. Then they've got huge systems, they dwarf what we have, and we will have to upgrade quickly. If their communities want a lot of their videos storing and are willing to back it with BRCA incentive fees, then it means that there's going to be a lot of the rewards going to the larger entities because they're going to have the space and capacity to store. So yeah, I mean, it's just a case of having the most available, updated equipment that you can get if you're serious about mining and making Speak. I mean, from day one, the network won't fill up straight away. People will be getting used to how the system works and things like that. So it's not something you have to jump in and be ready before it all starts. It's not like that hyper competitive, I don't think, anyway. But over time, it will be, and people will be able to upgrade their systems as they see fit. So I don't think there's any stress about it, JK. I think it will be all right. I'm going to move on to the next question, unless anyone else.
Well, I want to just one point. That's the real reason one of the main reasons we airdrop or claim drop to the Hive community, the miners, right? So let's say a Rumble when they come on. Well, Rumble's going to have to buy miners, and the initial distribution is set into the Hive's hands. So it's in this community's hands what happens to those miners. and then they're going to have to wait a year, right? And then the daily auctions start, but they can't come in and corner the market. So it's going to be very obvious if a force comes in trying to money attack, right? Because you'll be able to see it in the daily auction fluctuations. So we're giving this the biggest head start you could possibly give for the community to protect itself, because there's only so many miners, and it doesn't matter how much money or how much storage you have to have miners too to be competitive versus everyone else. And so obviously if they're buying the miners, that's going to be a money attack, but the money attack obviously helps the community because it raises the underlying asset value. So, we game theoried this in a way to where we wouldn't feel threatened if a rumble came. We would be able to manage it in a very good way, in my opinion. And the worst cases aren't that bad.
Yeah, if I can add one more thing to hype you guys up a bit. I've had people really come up to me and ask me about what you guys were doing. Everyone's, I'd say, pretty excited with the development as it stands. I think this should be the biggest drop that happened in Hive history, outside stuff that Leo Finance is doing. And like with everything, anything good that happens in Hive, it's a point of interest for me to take it and promote it outwards. The more newsworthy it is, the easier it is for publications to pick it up, and also to attract new investors and new users coming in. So yeah, keep up the good work.
Cheers.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Really appreciate that. And one of the things that, not everything's exactly locked down yet. We've got a very clear idea of what we're building, but the problem is, like I was saying earlier, there are some things that are unknowns because this is new technology. So we'll see how it ends up. We're certainly trying to build the most simple, efficient, effective model, for sure. And one of the things I want to reiterate that's really important based off what you just said is that everyone that's getting this drop, they're basically now able to decide whether they want to become serious miners or not, basically. And not even serious miners, just people who've got some spare storage space. They might as well hold the token as well, as far as I can see. But people will be able to take their airdrops, sell it off into the market if they want to, if they don't want to get involved with storing or running CDNs or running encoders. They will be able to stock up on the amount of miners that they've got if they're very serious about it, right? One of the things that's very clear is, in terms of the airdrop, certainly me personally, I've poured my heart and soul into this project for the last couple of years, maybe even longer, but time's going too fast. And there's going to be hundreds of guys on this chain and ladies that are going to earn more Larynx tokens than I will. And this is the beauty of Hive, is that we all own this. We all have to own this. We have to own the mechanism for free speech as a collective community. And then we allow people to sort out where they want to go with the mining, whether they want to take mining seriously, whether they want to continue with it, or whether they want to take some quick profits early and get out. That's up to people. Whether they want to try to accumulate more miners lower, or maybe the price rockets, who knows. And then at that point, you've got a group of people that are dedicated to running the infrastructure for free speech on this network. And I think that's just incredibly important. I think it's also very important that the community owns it, especially with the governance token. We all begin on day one mining competitively together. That may be another 4, 5, maybe even 6 months down the line after the token drop, but at least we'll all be ready and we'll be in a place to kind of all work together and know that we all own this. Dan and I have built this system. We've put our blood, sweat and tears into it, and also I should also mention the other devs. You've got Got Game, you've got Eddie Spino, you've got Voltec and Cider Cypher. And also, we've been helped out by Deluxe, Disregard Fiat a little bit as well. These guys are just incredibly key guys, and we all own this system. We all own it together. And I don't just mean the group of guys that I just mentioned, but the wider community on Hive. And certainly the people who have spoken to you are as much owners as we are. So yeah, I really hope we have a big, successful collaboration on that.
And last but not least, but Bobinson.
Yeah, good old Bobinson from Peer Play.
Good old Bob.
Yeah, excuse me for that. Yeah, no, he's
no, you're good.
Mm-hmm. So, next, let's have a look.
Mm-hmm.
What technical or other knowledge or equipment would help? From from my point of view, we're trying to make this as technically simple as possible. Most of the technical side will be handled by Vaultec, who is building the nodes. Vaultec is doing a great job of that so far. He's built a lot of the fundamental foundations for this stuff, so that we get a nice set of feeds and they're able to do nice, easy searches on the data. We realised that was one of the foundational things that we needed. And then after that, it's kind of a case of now he's building the nodes out. So the nodes are the encoder node, the storage node, the content delivery node, and the validation node. Those are the main nodes that are being built out. And the idea is that we want to get it to a point where you just go to the desktop app, click on run a node, and then it gives you the 4 nodes that you've got the options to run, and you just click on run, and it runs it in the background while you're running the desktop app. That's the most ideal scenario, and that's what we're trying to go for. So it should mean you need very little technical knowledge. With a few of the things like the CDN, you're going to have a link to the servers that you're running. The same with the storage, you'll have to link to the server or the IP of the computer you're running. But again, we want to try and make that as simple as possible. So there's no we want to take your excuses away that it's going to be complicated. It may start off more complicated because it's not. We want to get it out early, but we're going to get it to the point where it's very simple to run for people. So I don't think there's any special knowledge required. Maybe a little bit, but we'll certainly try to educate people on that as well if it's needed. Ideally we want to distribute this token as wide and far as possible. The wider and further that we distribute the token, the more stable the system is, the more decentralized it is. So just try and keep it simple and let everyone take part in the mining.
It's like basically flipping a switch is what we want at the end of the day, and let it run in the background, desktop computer, laptop, maybe even eventually mobile phone. I mean, that's the goal, to allow everyone to contribute in some form or fashion in the sharing economy. So.
For sure. And then the next question was, what sort of broadband requirements will be necessary? I mean, obviously, the stronger your broadband is, the better, the more competitive you'll be when you're competing, especially if you're a validator. They need to have very stable connections, and they'll be pinged on a regular basis. The storage people as well will need to have reasonable Wi-Fi connections, because they will also be pinged for proof of access, and if they can't provide the evidence they've got the file that they say that they've got within a certain period of time, they'll get penalized. But at the same time, I don't see it being an issue if you're just running this off a normal Wi-Fi connection, So we want it to be that everyone can run it off a normal Wi-Fi connection. Just if your Wi-Fi connection's unstable and drops regularly, that will probably cause you problems, because it will drop halfway through transactions. But again, there's no special requirements here as far as I can tell. I don't know, maybe we need to also ask this question to Vaultec, at Vaultec in the Discord. Mm-hmm. He will know a little bit better about the technical requirements of that. He may specifically say, no, you need a certain type of Wi-Fi connection, but as far as I'm aware, you don't need anything special. But
the goal is to make it.
The more high power it is, the more likely you are to earn better rewards in the system.
The goal is to make it lowest entry of requirement, but still not affect the network. So those will be specified, and we're going to learn it through testing as well. But we do have a goal to make it as far-reaching as possible. Good thing is the internet's getting faster and faster. So. Yep.
Just wondering if you're doing any maths to check to see how profitable it would be for people to rent existing server suppliers like Amazon even, or that kind of thing. Are they going to be able to make money doing that?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Do you want to answer this, Dan?
Yeah, the goal is it's going to be free market based. So it's going to be, you're going to have a set amount of inflation for a period of time for the Speak token to go out to miners. And then you're also going to have what's backed on by Braca. And the goal is to make it feel like Hive, where you're just using your resource credits, because if you stake your Speak, you'll get Braca, free Braca every day. So it's going to be free market driven. You're going to be like, okay, well, this is the price, this is the cost, and then people are like, okay, well, how much is the cost of Speak? And if it's not very profitable, you're not going to have many miners, because the miners are going to be splitting that reward. So it's sort of like a bingo with a fixed pool, right? It calls a number, everyone stands that has that number. The more people that stand, the less that everyone else makes. So it's built in inherently for people to search for rare files, because you'll be paid more. What this does is it helps keep the network round and stable, as videos won't drop off because they become more and more profitable as less people have them. So that's going to be the thing. And if for some reason the token isn't high enough and the Braca demand isn't high enough and nobody wants to store it, then it will, this isn't permanent storage. This isn't permanently incentivized storage. And there's a difference. Permanent storage will require centralization, in my opinion, because if you're talking heavy duty files, such as videos and all that, text is different, as we do with Hive. So I believe this is the best way to tackle it from a censorship resistant point of view. But you also have the community. The great thing is we have community tokens where it's like, okay, well, maybe the underlying speak mechanism wasn't enough and the Braca token itself wasn't enough, but we're in a part of a community and this community values this video and this community has its own token and they're going to back some of their own token with this video. So now you got a 3-prong approach. So we'll give at least all the tools possible to make it as long lasting as possible if it's valued. So.
Yeah, I just want to add here that just going to reiterate a little bit what Dan said in a different way. This is free market driven. So if the community wants to store the thing bad enough, then it will pay the going rate that the storage and infrastructure providers require in order to be profitable to provide their service. If they're not putting up enough Braca to fund the activity, then the people doing the infrastructure operation are within their rights to turn around and say we're not going to do it at this price. So there'll be like there will be some kind of calculation that's an approximate, based on a typical video for storage for X amount of time. This is how much content delivery costs are. This is what the encoding costs are. This is what the storage costs will be. And then tapering off as time goes on, it obviously goes down.
Well, to make it a visual, you can compare it to Ethereum gas prices, right? You can say, "Oh, I only want to pay $1." And it's like, well, nobody's going to accept that. No miner's going to accept that. You'll get like an average, and you'll be like, okay, this was the last average in the hour of the transaction cost, so I should send this if I want to get in. The only difference is you don't lose your funds if you don't send enough, right? Like on Ethereum, your funds actually get burned. But think of it that way. It's a dance between the miners and the person who wants storage. They're going to be able to see what they're actively storing it for in the last period of time, and you have your average cost, and then you just put in your average cost, and you wait. If you put it higher, it'll be quicker. If you put it lower, it'll be lower. If there's a lot of miners, then the price will be cheap, right? If there's fewer miners, it might be more expensive. So it's sort of like an ebb and flow. It's hard to say from day to day what it will cost. If there's a spike in the price of Speak, then you're going to get a flood of new miners, and then maybe people are willing to store videos for cheaper to stay competitive.
So when Dan and I set this up about a year ago now, we really went into a lot of detail to try to keep it free market driven, so that all of the variables in the ecosystem kind of depend upon each other and they're affected by each other, and there's no like hard price capping or setting. It's just going to be, like Dan just said, like driven by demand from people that want infrastructure and against the people providing infrastructure. And as long as they both work out a happy medium, the ecosystem should balance out. Initially, I don't think it will. I think initially it's going to be a little bit of up and down, and the ecosystem is going to have to try and work itself out. It might be really, really profitable, or it might be really, really unprofitable. But the system's set up so that it balances out over time. And so, given the first few days or weeks, it will kind of decide where it's sitting at, and then it'll start kind of humming along, hopefully.
I'll quickly say this. It just popped in my head. It's a play on Hive where the resource credits paid to the witnesses, and then the Hive token would be capped in this instance and have an inflation for X amount of years to give a bunch of runway. Of course, not including the SIP, which makes all this also more sustainable. But that would be sort of like a very dumbed down version that's not actually fully true, but sort of gets you in the ballpark of what's going on with how it's set up. Again, resource credits fluctuate. Sometimes they're cheaper, sometimes they're more expensive in terms of claiming accounts and performing things. You'll notice that if you have 15 HP, for example, sometimes you only get a few more comments, or sometimes you don't. Right? If you have more than that, you usually don't generally notice because we haven't hit mass adoption yet, but we've gotten to the point where the low-hanging fruit is starting to feel it. But, yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing, Dan, do you want to go into what happens when the Braca price accidentally spikes so that people can...
Yeah, so the great thing about this...
Yep. Just before we do that, I want to say, to be very clear, Dan mentioned earlier about permanent storage. So permanent storage is probably going to be incredibly expensive. I think you'll be able to do it on the Speak network. Like Dan said, maybe you want to go use Arweave for that. But
I don't think permanent
thing is
storage. I
that-
think it's gonna be centralized if it's permanent storage.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that what we are guaranteeing is the permanent incentivization of storage, not necessarily permanent storage. And the beauty of this is something I think Dan will go into in a second. Is if the BRCA price spikes, there's going to be opportunities to roll. But yeah, maybe you want to go into that in a little bit more detail, Dan.
Yeah, I don't. Just a caveat. I don't believe you can actually have permanent storage and guaranteed. You can only have the guarantee of permanent incentivization of that storage. And if the free market wants to pick it up, they do. But and if you're talking about the BRCA free market, the great thing about the system is you can incentivize to delete old content. And what that means is you'll have fluctuations in price, and maybe the BRCA price spikes up a lot higher than when you initially bought it. When you go to delete a video, you actually recoup some of that BRCA that you put down. So you'll pay some, it'll go to the miners, get you in the network, and then some of that will be withheld. And when you delete it, you recoup it. So the idea is if the price does spike, it'll actually trim the network because you'll have a bunch of people deleting videos. And then usually if it's a video that you don't really care about, you're like, it had its run, didn't get a lot of views. I don't feel like wasting any resources or the time even to upload a 3-year-old cat video. I got 3 views and I got 1 million cat videos anyway. So it's going to be a natural pruning of the system, which is novel and I think is going to be pretty cool.
Okay, then the last question was, the next question was, will it be worth it? But I think we've just talked about that. And then the last question was, can you stake the miners and earn passively?
Yes, you can. So the Speak network, the Speak token will actually have a transaction fee, and a part of that will go to Larynx miners that are just staked. So you'll just be able, without, this is to incentivize even further stabilize the network. And of course, if you have staked miners, you're obviously going to want to take it a step further and just start mining because you're burning money at that point if you're not. So at least that's the game theory behind it.
Yeah, cool. But I mean, I want to reiterate the general rule is that if you're staking miners, we want you to, do something in the network ideally, certainly to earn the most amount of Speak and BRCA rewards. People will be willing to pay incentives for the more intense infrastructure provision. So yeah, I mean, if you're staking and then you're providing infrastructure, you're going to earn a lot more than if you're just staking and earning passively. I mean, from the flip side, when you talk about staking, if you're staking to the DeFi pool, which is a different thing, I don't think you'll be able to stake your miner to the DeFi pool, but you'll be able to stake your Speak and your BRCA and your Hive to the DeFi pool, which is the SIP, and that will earn you passive income as well.